Welcome to Rae's Corner. On today's show, we have Jessica Terry. She writes women's fiction and romance. She's a novelist, she's a copywriter, she's a ghostwriter, and some of her characters might have you up in arms and ready to throw a book. I'm just saying, it's very true. It's very honest. You can't tell me that I'm wrong.
I'm not mad at that. So yeah, I'll take it.
I'm really excited to have a conversation today, though. And I kind of just want to start a little bit, pretty much at the point of the fact that you write women's fiction and romance, because some people don't always get that there is a distinction between the two. One does not always end with a happily ever after. It might have a love story going through it, but it's not the same as what a romance is. And I just wonder, like, what made you decide to do both of those, and like how you make the distinction very clear so people know that one is not the other.
Yeah, honestly, when I think of a story, genre is not in the forefront of my mind. It's more about what the story is and flushing that out. I worry about all of the genre and the tropes and all that stuff after the fact. 9 times out of 10, it's the idea, and then I'll go about categorizing it later. So I don't ever set out to, I'm gonna write this book and it's gonna be women's fiction. I'm gonna write this, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna write this romance. I'm gonna write this story, and whatever it is what it is, And so I just try to make sure that when I am, labeling it, I try to do so correctly, like with Split by the Bell, I made sure to, specify this is not a romance. It has a lot of romance in it, but the story itself is centered on the friendship between the two main characters. And it's not necessarily about the romance that's shared between them and the guy that they're battling over. It's more about how all that affects the friendship,
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's more about that just happens to be the two genres that most of my stories fall into. But it wasn't necessarily a mindful thing, But that I will say that those are the two main genres I like to read. So it just comes naturally.
I was actually going to ask you about that later. So do you find yourself kind of leaning more into the types of, because you said you don't really think about the tropes when you first start writing, but do you find yourself leaning into the tropes that you also like to read when you write?
Somewhat. It's occasional times where I'll think of a story and automatically I know it's friends to lovers or whatever, and I know that because like with the release I'm about to do, I knew that was going to be an only one bed, kind of forced proximity kind of thing, just because of the scene that kind of sprouted the whole idea. But yeah, I mean, I do tend to. I try not to do the same ones all the time. But I don't write stuff I'm not feeling. So if it's something that I'm just not, I'll say this: the billionaire, secretary thing, I'm so tired of seeing. So I haven't done those.
Right.
The fake dating stuff, I'm kind of over it. So as of now, I'm not doing any of that. So, it just really depends on what, where my mind is at any given time. So it's not always I am going to do this, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
It's just whatever the story ends up unfolding as, or whatever comes to me is what it is. But usually it does tend to be things that I do like to read.
Right. So you were like, oh, let me think about how I want to say this. There's nothing wrong with not liking a particular type of book. Like, everything ain't for everybody, which is why it's so nice that there's such a wide variety of books out there for us to read. Because I'm not a secret pregnancy type of person. I don't particularly like those. Like, can we not surprise people? Like,
it is not even I don't even like dislike them. I'm just tired of them. There's just so
Uh,
many, you know, that I'm just kind of burnt out on certain tropes. So it's like
yeah,
the story could be awesome, but it's just like once I see, oh well, he has to pretend to, get her to pretend to be his date for some reunion or I'm just like pass, and and I hate to do that because it could be like a dope story, but it's just like I see so much of that, not
yeah.
just that, but just I
The
just
over,
kind of I'm over it for the
yeah.
time being. You That's
So
all.
you mentioned you have a release coming up. Before we get to that, I want to talk about your recent release because I read it last night and I'm still in my feelings. Um,
Okay.
Mrs. Soul Crusher, which was the sequel, part two ish of Mr. Time Waster, which also had me throwing books across rooms. Just Claire, Montreal, Aurora. Like what? What made you decide that you wanted to lovingly torture your readers?
Which book are we referencing? Are we referencing Mr. Time Waster or Mr. Soul Crusher?
Whichever one you want to start with, because both.
Uh, well, Mr. Time Waster, it was it's that was I did not expect to have such a strong reaction to Montreal. I thought it was going to be more about Claire.
Hmm.
Um, that was when I first thought of that. How many of years ago that was? It was more about her, and her stupidity when it came to this particular man, and weakness, if you will, about being able to resist, and all this other kind of stuff. I did not intend for Montreal to be a villain per se. Um, I know he's not well liked. I get it, but I didn't write him to be evil. He has flaws. He's flawed. Um, he's spoiled. He's entitled. Selfish. Um, but he's not a to the root bad guy. He doesn't enjoy
Yeah.
hurting anyone. You
No. Yeah.
know, so it's not. That's not how I wanted to write him. Now I get it. You don't. I mean, he get on folk nerves.
Start the book.
He make. I totally understand that. So I mean, but you know what? I had such fun writing Montreal. Not only in Mr. Time Waste, but in Mr. Soul Crusher especially. Um, and that sequel was not even planned. Like when I wrote Mr. Time Waster, it was supposed to be that, and that's it.
Mhm.
It was when I was going through the final edits, it just popped into my mind, talk the little different elements about continuing that story with him and Aurora, in their marriage, and let's, throw something at Annie, Montreal's mother,
Mhm.
because she got on my nerves. I wrote her, but she got on my nerves in Mr. Time Waster. So let's give her some issues.
Yeah.
Um, and I
And
just
she,
wanted to, yeah, I just wanted to, and it just blew up, and I like literally wrote that first chapter just right then. Um, and then I stopped and did the outline. But I wrote the first chapter just off the top of my head because I was that excited about it. And I started, jotting down notes and whatever, and then I just dug in and wrote the chapter. Then I wrote the outline for the rest of it. Because I was that excited about it. And I believe that was a 20K in 5 day project, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
and
yeah, think yeah, it was because I remember talking about it on one of the Zooms. Yeah,
it gets all blurred and mixed together at one point or another. So I'll be like, yeah,
it
probably me.
does. It does. But yeah, I mean, and Mrs. Soul Crusher, it was I wanted to put Montreal through it, because of what he did to Claire. Um,
Listen.
and
Ooh,
yeah,
You know how you get up in arms when you read something?
Yeah, yeah,
I read something by,
and that's,
all right, Jessica, you was trying to evoke emotion and you're getting it.
and I love it. I love it. So thank you for verifying that. But yeah, um, yeah. I mean, it was I wanted to put you in Aurora's mind and kind of have her, that you see what she's going through as she's taking Montreal through all this stuff. I wanted to bring Claire back, albeit in a somewhat lesser capacity, but you see what she's up to, and I kind of wanted to give her a little bit of redemption and have her kind of come out on the other side of all of that nonsense. Um, and yeah, just kind of throw a lot of stuff at Montreal, because he deserved it.
Through the kitchen sink. Like that in the third got you. Like, whoo.
Right. Montreal needed to grow up.
No, he really
And
did.
and so I wanted this book to be that progression from the spoiled, entitled, man child that he could tend to be in Mr. Time Waster to, okay, there are consequences. This is what, and he recognized it. He recognized
Mm-hmm.
it. I made a mistake. I totally chose the wrong woman. I am getting all of this back. Karma is hitting me with both hands. And he knew it.
Yeah.
He knew it. And so it wasn't. I wanted him to mature in this
Yeah.
book. So hopefully that came across.
He got there mostly.
Yeah, still flawed,
But I
but
mean, that
yeah,
makes it the original character because there's no body, like no one is perfect. So
right,
humans have flaws, and even if you're writing a character, there's no perfect person. Like that just isn't believable. So like
right,
that's what makes it like where you don't want to put the book down, you want to keep reading because you're like, he getting on my nerves, but also people are like this. Like it's a mindset you have to work through.
right. Yeah, it's a process. It's
Yeah.
a process, and he's in his late 30s, mid to late 30s. So I mean, it's not, it's a lot of unlearning and relearning that has to take place, and um, a lot of self reflection and a lot of just humbling himself to realize the part that he played in everything.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I mean, and realizing a lot of things about the people, the relationships with the people around him, with his mother, with Forrest, his best friend, and with Giselle. You know, um, all of them. He, yeah, I mean, a lot. It was so much fun to do that to him. Oh my goodness, I loved it.
Gives me a little bit. Like what is your happy writing place? Like when you're getting in the groove of something, what kind of helps you get there? Is it the idea that you're working on, or like the fact that you know that you're going to finish it at some point? Like what kind of guides you along?
Mm, it can be. It really depends. Usually, if I'm in it and I'm in a, because that book, Miss Soul Crusher, was pretty smooth. Like I wrote it fairly quickly, the first draft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love writing banter. I love writing the back and forth. So that if I have a lot of that, that drives me. I love writing humor. Montreal is kind of has a dry, self-deprecating kind of humor, and that's part of what made him fun to write. I like writing the lighter, breezy stuff, like my book Forehead Kiss, which is a rom
Yeah.
com. That was, I love that kind of stuff. If it's on the heavier side, like Mrs. Soul Crusher has heavy moments. Um, it can some scenes can be tough to write, you know. And in my books, Emasculated, The Beginning of Again, Back Talk, those are kind of darker books, or deal with heavier subject matters, and there's really not a lot of light moments in those. So those can take longer, you
Yeah.
know.
So what is
Um,
the process? Like what helps you kind of get through it? Because when you are writing something that is a little bit heavier, and you don't have like that little bit of comedic relief or loving moment or something to kind of help push you along to the next point, what are you doing so you don't get drawn down into those feelings that your characters are going through?
I just keep my eye on the end goal. Like, what is it I'm trying to get to? I'm seeing the end, and I know I'm going towards it, and I have to get through this scene or this chapter or this whatever to get to that. And I also know, I have to remember in the back of my mind, that you made all this stuff up.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just just get through it. And that's really it. Some scenes take longer than others simply because of, especially if they involve a lot of characters or whatever, and I'm just trying to make sure that everything fits together like it's supposed to.
Right.
But it's really just, I see the end goal, you know, and I'm just trying to. I know I have to get through this to get to that end goal. So I mean, that's it. You
Yeah.
know.
And so some people find writing to be therapeutic. They work through some of the issues that they're dealing with in their own lives somewhat through their writing. Do you find yourself doing that with any of your books? Like, do you find like a little character flaw or a little character personality trait that you pulled from yourself or someone that you know that you have to use, and you're just like, all right, this is, yep, I get it.
There's some of me in just about all of my books. There's some more than others, but like there's a little piece of me in some way just about in any book in my catalog. I mean, not by a long shot. I wrote after a bad breakup. That was how I healed. And she begins with, talking about how she got dumped in a text message by her man of 3 years. I got dumped in an email by my man of 2 years.
Oh.
So that was a straight up springboard from that. And we were talking about getting married just like they were, you know.
Ooh. Yeah.
And Adele in Love and Tolerant, is her and her son Christopher is pretty much me and my son Langston.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I I'm divorced. My husband did not pass, so that's not the same thing. But just in general, um, yeah, I took them straight from us. You know,
Right.
um, in forehead kiss, Nyla's job, straight from what I used to do, what I did for 14 years. So I mean, like I said, it's a lot of and I have to say this too. Um, a lot of times I write characters that I'm a little jealous of. You know, they have something that I wish I had. You know, be it a character, be it a character trait, or maybe a profession, or maybe just the man they have, or whatever. I write, I write stuff that I wish I had a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I admit that. So um, that's also just, it's kind of my way of writing my own happy ending that I don't have. You know, I can at least have it in my books. So
Yeah.
that's another way I get that kind of stuff. You know.
It's a way to process and work through
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. And I'm dealing with a lot of reality. So that's how that's kind of how I deal with it. I just I mean, in Meltdown and Mistletoe, Kia's situation, straight from what I'm dealing with, as far as, she got laid off after, she's expecting a raise and she gets laid off and she loses all this stuff. And then, that's straight out of me,
Yeah.
straight out of my life right now. So yeah, I mean, it's therapeutic to kind of put it in a book and twist it to, at least I can write it to where it turns out, you know, a good way.
Yeah.
Even if it's not shifting that way for me right now, I can at least write it out. It's kind of like journaling in a way, I can just get it out and um have it how I want it to go, some kind of way.
It's part of the healing process because
Yeah.
healing takes time, but like acknowledging a situation and working toward making things change is like the ultimate goal. So that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. And
I
just
can't.
Dale from Love Intolerant. Kingston is such a mess, but I love him.
You said Kingston?
Yes. I'm like, sir, I'm gonna need you to bring it down a couple notches, but also keep doing what you're doing.
Really? Okay. Okay. You
I'm
thought he was
just
doing too much?
he just was very like, I know what I want, and it's you.
Yeah.
And so like, why are we playing?
Pretty much.
And like that's why I'm like, well, just give her a second. He's like, no, no, I know what I want, and it's you. So why are we playing? I was like, all right.
Yeah. Kingston was steadfast. He was like, he was 10 toes down on that. You know, he wasn't wavering about nothing. And that's what that
Oh,
was the intent. That was the
yeah.
intent. I wanted him to be stand down. You know, there's nothing she could say that's gonna run him off, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Because
don't have
she's
that.
yeah.
My experience with men is usually the opposite, you know.
Uh,
So I wanted to write him that way. That was purposeful, you know, to,
yeah.
you know, be like, I'm here, I ain't going nowhere. Until you straight up say, I don't want you, I'm not interested, whatever. So it's not like a stalkerish, you know, kind of way. But, you know, it's just like if I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. I recognize you have issues, fears, whatever. Um, but I'm not scared off that easily.
Yeah, it was kind of like was it Troy and Tonette?
Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
Yeah. He had a similar he was kind of like, look, I see what I want.
Uh-huh.
I'm not walking away. But then, things happen.
Yeah.
He was just like, well, I just needed a little bit of time. But I'm still here. I'm still here. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you are what I want. Why are we playing?
Mm-hmm.
You want
And he,
me, right?
yeah,
If you
he
don't,
did need me. Right. And it was understandable that he needed that break because of she kind of pulled a
yeah,
big piece of wool over his eyes. So,
yeah.
um, you know,
Let
he
me
had to step back a little bit.
let me take some time and think about the things.
Totally understandable. Yes.
Um, but I'm just kind of curious. You said you have this book coming up, so just breaking in real quick to say I Want Us is out already. We recorded this show before March, so a date hadn't been set for the release, but I Want Us came out on March 9th. So check it out if you're interested in that release by Jessica. What do you what whoa. What are we expecting? My words got all jumbled. Tell us what's going on.
Okay, so the next one is I Want Us. It's a friends to lovers. Um, they Rome and Jaslyn are best buddies, been buddies for like 8 years. Nothing ever popped off. They're both in relationships. Um, um, Rome's relationship on the surface seems pretty ideal, but his girl is very when he talks about feelings or in their future or anything like that, she tends to kind of shy away. Jasmine's man is very insecure. So they're each having separate relationship issues, but it's not until but they're not thinking about each other like that. They've never kissed, they've never done nothing. It's all been totally platonic. And then, everything changes one night during the blizzard when they get stuck together. And then everything just kind of shifts with them, with their respective relationships. And that's bad enough. But then Rome's ex um, comes back with a pretty crazy request, um, wanting to kind of borrow him for a month. Um,
Okay.
to essentially try to win him back. And so that just unleashes a whole another round of mess, you know. And so it's it was that whole book. It was the one scene during the blizzard. It was in my mind, and it just kind of spurred the whole story. Very specific, but it's sometimes it's wild how it happens like that. It's like one random scene can just kind of come, and then that just kind of you build everything off of that, and that's how it was with this. It was a scene during the blizzard when Rome and Jaslyn are together, and yeah, it was yes, total. It's I'm looking forward to getting it out. It's I can just imagine what you and people like Mika will say
Oh,
about that whole situation. So yeah, that was fun.
as long as I ain't wanting to throw a book, we good. Also, I mean, I still finish reading it, so it doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah,
just temporarily wanting to throw the book. That's
you can
fine.
throw it, then you go and pick it back up, and you continue to read.
That's why you have to get the physical books. You got to buy a physical book because you can't throw an e-reader because it breaks.
Yeah.
You throw a phone because it breaks. So you got to get the physical book so that when
Hmm.
you be like, "Ah!" you could just chuck it.
Yeah, you chuck it. You have your moment. All right, I'm good now. Let me go pick the book back up and keep reading.
Exactly. What are and I know that you said like you put bits and pieces of different situations that you've been dealing with in your books, but like what is some of the inspiration that kind of like what kind of sparks some of the ideas as you're thinking about things before you get to a book? Because like you can have a personality trait or a situation that a character is going through, but like is that what sparks it, or is it like, oh, I want to write about this thing because I've never done that before, or like do you build around the character or a scene, or do you build around an idea?
It depends. It depends on the book. It's been all it's just what we're talking about. You know, like I said, with I Want Us, it was this one scene. But She Is Me. I literally thought of that the whole thing about to be your own twin. I literally thought of that car ride on Thanksgiving. Um, and just that whole concept was what spurred that story. Like I said, my breakup with Not by a Long Shot. That's what got that. Um, with Split by the Bell, it was the whole thing about a hopeless romantic and a commitment fold. Which are Lovey and Desiree. Their names being also hints. Um, being best friends and total opposites, but like sisters, and then this one man, Roland Bell, comes between them. Um, that's that one. Forehead kiss, that one, their meet cute is um what I thought of first in that book. So yeah, it just depends. Um Mr. Time Waster was just literally that, just a man continuing to waste your time.
Yeah.
Um which unfortunately I'm well versed in. And it just went from there. you
It's
know.
it's life.
So right. So yeah, I mean it just depends on the book.
Yeah.
Um yeah. So yeah, it just depends on which book we're talking about, as far as how it originated. But it could be any of those.
We like this. I want to play a game.
Hmm.
I'm curious because you do a lot of reading. I see like you're always like, "Oh, I'm reading this right now," or "I just read this," when I'm scrolling through your socials. So I'm curious, are there any upcoming releases, indie, traditional, or otherwise, that you're looking forward to this year? Name a couple.
So now you ask me to count on my memory, and that's really not ever a good thing. um, I think I'm I think Danielle Allen has a book coming out sometime this summer, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure I'll read that. Curvy Girl Summer, I think it's called. Um, I think Reese Ryan is coming out with something. I don't remember the title. I just remember I'm picturing the cover. Those are two. That's gonna be my answer. I'm sure there are more. I'm sure there are. I can't think of any titles off the top of, off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, but listen, I got asked that question recently, and I was like, "Oh, author that I know no longer is in my head." Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I probably think of a ton of them after we get off this. So yeah, it's those
Do
two.
one-click authors, like it don't matter what they put out. You're like, "Yep, I'm getting it."
Um, actually, no. And I say that respectfully, but I mean, there's some that I will definitely, when I see they're coming out with something, I definitely hurry up and see what it is.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that I automatically buy anything from anyone. It just really depends on what the book what the book is about. But there are definitely authors that I buy more from than
Mhm.
others. But yeah, as far as just automatic buys, I don't have any of those.
Do you find yourself sticking within romance primarily, or do you venture out and read like mystery and fantasy and that a little bit as well, or are you just a romance?
No, I pretty much stick within romance. I like women's fiction. I like memoirs and biographies and stuff like that. I love books based that kind of take you behind the scenes of like TV shows and stuff. I love that kind
Mm,
of stuff. Um, if I'm reading paranormal or fantasy or something like that, it is a book club pick. It is not something that I just chose on my own because that is
mhm.
just not my thing. Um, and no disrespect, it's just not. But I will say that um, Drea Anderson is one exception with the paranormal stuff. I've read a couple of hers that I actually enjoyed. Um, um, I I think I first read one of hers in an anthology with the current anthology.
Mhm.
That's when I first read hers, and I actually enjoyed. That was actually the one I enjoyed the most out of that one, ironically. So, she is an exception. I did read one other paranormal. I think it's called Missile Foe or something like that. I thought that was hilarious, so I enjoyed that. Um, but I also have read another one recently. I won't say which one it is because I'm not trying to shade nothing. But I did read one recently that I did not like. So it's really just kind of hit or miss. So I usually just don't
Yeah.
bother. Um, I'm a big old sap, so I love romance, and I love I just love feel good stuff. I got enough drama. I don't want any dark stuff. I love the happy endings. I love the kissy. I love all that. So I mean, I'm good on anything that's dark or heavy or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
need all. You know, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, you know, romance. I'm good.
So speaking of like not wanting to really deal with the other things that we got to deal with in life on a regular basis, drama and darkness, because we live on Earth. Um, what for self care besides your
Yeah.
reading?
Um, I work out. Uh, I do that because I have to. Um, I like to just. I'm real chill. I don't go out much at all. I'm a big old homebody. So I would be at the house watching old sitcoms, watching basketball, playing Bejeweled. I love to play Sims. Even though my laptop is too ancient to play on it now, but um, I need to replace my laptop, But when I have a decent laptop to play it on, I love to play Sims. Like,
Sims will forever be that game.
oh yeah, I mean, before I had any real responsibilities, I would spend all day,
Mhm.
playing like whole weekends playing that, and yeah, I miss it. I miss playing that. I tried to play it a few weeks ago. My computer just wouldn't cooperate. But but yeah, so stuff like that. I like to watch movies. Um, and just sometimes it's just doing nothing.
Yeah, I
It's
feel it.
literally doing nothing. I get on my sofa in my little corner, put on my hooded blanket if necessary, and just get me something delicious. I love to eat, so I guess you can say that. That's a self care thing. I am greedy, and so I will do that, and I will be in bliss. You know,
Do you
um,
go to food when you just want to like zone out?
oof. I love seafood. I'm a seafood nut.
Yeah.
So love seafood. I'm a French fry fiend. Love French fries,
Hey, yes.
and I have a big old sweet tooth. So I love sweets. Like a meal is not done until I have my dessert. So
Preferably chocolate.
chocolate is good. I love gelato. I love Talenti. Specifically, caramel cookie crunch is my go-to.
Now I want
Um,
ice cream. I have to go to the store after this.
yeah, you know, I have and some stuff I can't buy because if it's in the house, I eat it like Nutty Buddies,
Yes.
zebra
It's
cakes. I
so
love
bad.
those. Yeah, Star Crunch, like all those. Like if they're I don't have the willpower to.
No,
Like
no.
I love Nutty Buddies in the morning, like first thing in the morning, which is not good, and I know that. But they taste better right after you get up. And that's a habit I developed in college. I'll admit it. But yeah, that's why I can't buy those that much, and I have some now. I'm trying not to eat all of them, because I don't have the willpower. You know, I
Just,
know that they're in there.
just eat it really quick. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, like I
Not my
just had one. No, and I don't even know why I lied to myself because I always end up going to get another one. Yeah, I have big old sweet tooth. So yeah, it's those are my things. Like
That's why you said you work out so much.
I have to work out because I love to eat. I love to eat, and I am 45, so I cannot just eat and sit. It don't just stay in place by itself no more.
Yeah,
I have to
so,
do some work, and because then if I start to gain weight, then I start to get back, upset with myself, and then it's a whole cycle. So I have to stay active.
yeah.
I don't. So yeah.
So, because you love to eat, do you have characters who might have that trait? You know, like how we have a tendency to put a crutch, a particular type of crutch that we lean on for our characters, and we
Um.
don't realize we do it half the time. Do your characters tend to love to eat too? Or do they have a different crutch?
um well, actually, it's split by the bell. Lovey, she when she gets stressed, she gorges on chocolate. So she's a definitely stress eater, and um she just loves pretty much anything chocolate. But she knows she has that tendency, so she stays on the green smoothies and all of that. But
Hmm.
that becomes kind of an issue when her and Desiree are battling over rolling. Desiree kind of plays on that insecurity, a lot in the story. I won't say too much, but yeah, she kind of plays on that, knowing that Lovey does that. So yeah, I mean, and Adele, of course, in Love Intolerant, she loves dairy even though she ain't supposed to have it.
At
Um,
all.
that don't
That's
stop
that's
her a lot of times,
oh,
um, but yeah, those are the two that stick out in my head as far as that. Um, Ava in all because of Ava, I guess this is kind of adjacent, but she has a thing for chocolate milk with salt, um, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So those are two specific things that she that
I'm
she
sure
likes.
I can get the chocolate milk with salt thing because there's like what is it, like salted caramel mocha. So like
Yeah.
I was, oh wait, that kind of makes sense. But then we caramel, so then we have like the full flavor. Come on,
Right.
Ava.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are two things that she loves. Those are two of her vices. Nyla in Forehead Kiss loves tacos. So yes,
Who doesn't
it's
love tacos?
I mean, you know, I wouldn't mind a stack of them right now, actually. But
Exactly. Oh, I know what I want to eat tomorrow. Cool. You are helping so much.
hey, it's what I do.
I'm just saying, you know what you do. That your website says you are a consultant. So thank you for giving me this guidance on what's good to eat. Let's
I try.
no, I did. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. What like, do you still find yourself doing a lot of the ghost writing, and do you consult with authors and kind of help them out with any like developmental things? Do you find yourself doing that more often than not, or have you kind of like pulled back?
Um, I pull back, but it's not been necessarily a conscious thing. I'm available to do it if you're willing to pay me.
That,
But
yeah,
that's the issue. People don't want to pay for anything. So that's been the biggest reason why I haven't done much of it recently. People have come to me, they've approached me about it,
yeah,
but they don't want to. When I say, okay, sure, here's how much it's gonna cost, you know, I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
you know,
I didn't deserve it.
um, they don't really get that this is a service and that it takes time and it takes mental energy and that you're asking for my expertise, if you will, um, for lack of a better word. So when they expect me to do it just because, and so I'm like, no. Now, once upon a time, when early on, I was doing that, and someone had to tell me to stop
Yeah,
doing that. Um, so yeah, that's the big reason why I don't. Now, I will say I don't push those services that much. You don't see me advertise any of
yeah,
that much. Um, and I for a reason. I don't necessarily enjoy the consulting stuff. Um, it's not my. I'll do it, but it's not my aim. It's not my go-to. It's not my love, if you will.
right.
I like to help folks, but just the whole that's not my favorite thing to do. And with the ghostwriting and the copywriting I actually enjoy doing. Ghostwriting is fun. Um, but my novels are always gonna be my main thing. So that's mainly what I put my energy towards.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. So back to your novels. When are we expecting this release?
I'm aiming for March.
Jumping in one more time just to remind you that we recorded this before March began. So I Want Us is out now. It came out March 9th. So that's when you can expect the release last week. And back to Jessica.
Just March. Don't ask me what day or nothing like that. Um, I'm still, putting the finishing touches on it. Um, I'm also concurrently writing something else, which
Yeah.
I usually don't do. Usually it's one or the other. But um, but yeah. So March sometime is the aim. Um, I would have liked to have gotten it out this month, but it just wasn't gonna happen. So ain't no need me trying to kill myself trying to do that. It can wait, you know, a
And
couple weeks.
as indie authors, we have that ability to kind of be like, look, I wanted to do something this time, but like this time don't work. So it's coming out at that time.
Yeah,
Like we have that freedom.
that's the beauty of it, and I love it. I love it when I try to be disciplined to a degree, But if I
Yeah.
see that it's not going to work for whatever reason, you know, something came up or whatever, then yeah, I have the luxury of pushing it, pushing it back some, and it is what it is, you know. But I also I have to keep in mind that I have like a list of books I plan to put out this year. So if I'm going to keep that schedule, I have to be diligent, you know.
You
So
know, something I realized maybe last year, might have been the year before last. I don't remember. But I personally told myself I was gonna put out XYZ books, and I put them on like in a schedule in my head, and I had like, okay, these are the release dates tentatively. Let's do this. And the universe said, "That's cute. That's real cute. How about that one?" And that's it. And I'm wait, like, but that is in my head. It was like, yeah, you also have anxiety and bills, and I was just like, okay. So I get you. Like we be wanting to
yeah,
put stuff out, but everything I don't always agree with us. But I'm right here with you. I hope you can get your schedule and you can get the books out. But also, if they don't come out, it's totally fine.
yeah. I mean,
We
I'm not putting a lot of pressure on myself, but it's just I mean, the books are written; they just need to be polished, and But I wanted to get these particular ones out. These are ones that have kind of just been waiting their turn for a
yeah,
while, and then I write new stuff, and I get super excited about the new stuff, and then I kind of push that to the front, and the other ones just kind of sit there waiting, and I'm like, okay, this
like
year I'm right. It's like, remember me? You finished me a while ago. I'm supposed to be. So yeah, this year I said I was gonna dedicate to those books, with the exception of Mr. Soul Crusher, which I just wrote last year. But the other ones are all that have been just kind of patiently waiting. Um, and I wanted to, because I'm anxious to put out the ones I wrote last year, but I have to set those, you know, and yeah, I mean, and I'm as excited about these too. Um, these are all I'm super proud of. If of course, well, it should go without saying. If I'm not proud of it, you don't see it. So it's like, it's just a matter of um of my decisiveness, which put out first or whatever. It was a whole process deciding on I Want Us to put out next. And I decided on that one, but it was then determining the order of the rest of them. So yeah, I mean, uh, I'm I'm looking forward to it though. It's an ambitious schedule, but um, whatever it ends up being is what it's gonna be. I'm not stressing over it.
that right there.
They'll all get put out eventually. They'll
Exactly.
all get put out eventually. So,
And that's all you can do, because like you have a lot of ideas, and the joy of writing is like there is always endless ideas, so there's always something you can write, which means you're gonna be ever forever with ideas, but that doesn't mean you have enough time to put them out
right,
as you would like. So like,
right. Because I don't have a team. It's just me. So anything that has to get done, I'm doing it. So that takes time to do. You know,
exactly.
and so I don't want to rush anything, force anything. It's it it's not going to be seen until it's up to my, I hate to say it like this, but up to my standards. And so just for lack of better wording, I just
Yeah.
I just don't like how that sounds. But you know what I mean. Until I'm happy with it, it's not gonna be released. So it takes time to get to that point.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm just, and I don't want to overdo it. Also, I don't want to be sitting up here trying to be every month. Hey y'all, here goes something else. Um,
There
that's
are
just
some
not
authors who are pumping out books monthly, and that is a talent and that's a choice.
hey.
Um,
If you
but
got it like that, and that's what you want to do, no diss. but just for me, that's not what I want to do. So, yeah,
definitely for
yeah.
that. Well, I am gonna sit here and impatiently wait for this book to come out. And I keep reading through your backlist because I'm constantly picking up a book and ready to throw it, or I'm just like, oh, they're so cute. I know where I'm going when you're on a journey.
Well, I'm glad. That's the goal. You know, I want to make you feel something, whether
Yes,
it's frustration, anger, whatever. You know,
you
if
gonna
whatever it
feel.
is. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Which
if you just sitting there like, all right, whatever, then I fail. But if you feel something towards these characters, towards the story, whatever, then I am all good.
that part. Look,
You
I
know.
had to have my for my tea tonight. I had to have my if my mouth doesn't say it, my face absolutely will cup for you because that is what you do.
I love it. Is Mr. Soul Crusher the latest one you read?
Um, I read. I think I read Forehead Kiss a couple days ago. I've read a couple books. So,
Okay.
not just yours, like in general, I've been reading a lot of books because work is stressful. So I'm like, I think
Yeah.
that was the last one I
Okay.
read. But no, yeah, I read Miss Soul Crusher last month, and I read, dang, I don't know. I read a few. You know, days start mixed together, so I'll be forgetting.
I totally understand. Yeah, I was just curious, you know.
It
But I
technically
sure appreciate you reading them.
is book, but huh, I'm gonna have to think about it, and I will message you offline and be like, nope, it was this one. But yeah, I read Love Intolerant last year, and then I reread it because I liked it last month.
What happened last month? Because it kind of went out for a minute.
I read Love Intolerant last year, and then I reread it because
Okay.
I liked it last month. So
Okay.
there's that.
Reread. I see. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Rereads.
Yeah.
Rereads are good.
But
Yeah. I don't know.
you on the socials, where can they find you if they want to like see what you have going on or talk to you?
I am on Instagram, um, Facebook, and TikTok under author Jessica Terry. On Twitter or X, I am it's Jessica Terry on there. So that is where you can find me. And jessicaterry.com is my website. You can sign up for my sporadic email list and get your free download when you do full length download.
And because you're a homebody, you don't have no outings coming up that folks can catch you at.
I will be attending Indie Love, but as a guest.
Oh. So if
But
people
yeah,
want to run around and try and find you, you'll be at Andy Love.
I'll be at Indie Love. Yeah, and you'll probably see me with my little book backpack on, and so probably one of my shirts. This is I always wear my merch whenever I go anywhere. So
You always got your merch on, and your merch be like, okay, I don't have an endless amount of money, so I'm not playing with you.
yeah, I always gotta if you don't represent yourself,
Who is gonna do it?
who else gonna do it? You know.
Exactly.
So I'm like, all right, well, y'all ain't invite me here as a guest, but I'm gonna still broadcast that I am an author. And I had my Indie Author Pride shirt on. I had my backpack that got my books on it. So I had people asking, "Oh, you author too?" Yes, I am. I sure am.
I absolutely am. Yeah. We thank you, Jessica, for some. Try that again. Thank you, Jessica, so much for coming on. There we go. And we'll have another chat sometime later. But until then, that's it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.